All right, man, we are live. Thank you so much for taking out some time.
Appreciate it, man. This is gonna be good.
So, let's talk about your first, right off. I want to jump right in. Let's talk about your new album, The Singularity. I said
Yeah,
that.
the Singularity, man. It's
Sure,
my
that works.
it's my foray into metal officially.
Yeah.
But I think for people that have been fans of my scores, they've been hearing the metal influence like infiltrate my music for years. So I don't know if it's a surprise or not, but I've always wanted to do a concept record my entire life, and it drops on May 3rd, man. I mean, it's crazy.
That is blows my mind, man. I gotta admit, I was saying before, but I think this might be my new favorite album if I'm not BSing you. So I'm gonna
Dang, man, that
I'm gonna
means
be
a
giving
lot.
it quite a few listens.
Killer, man. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. I think there's a lot to chew on in there. It's a big one.
Oh man. So, you know, I guess where did you come up with the story that turned into, not only a rock album, but like a graphic novel
Yeah.
and like a concert experience? Um,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I've been working on this record since I was 15 years old. One of the
oh,
songs that's on here I wrote when I was 15.
so
So,
cool.
and in fact, it's called Escape from the Machines, and the opening of the track is from my Tascam 4-track cassette recorder when I was 15 years old. And then
No.
Slash and Joe Satriani join me in the new recording. So it's like, it's been a long time coming. But the idea of a story kind of came from my love of story. I've always loved the way that narrative and music work together. There's something so emotional and powerful about it. Look at my job, man. I mean, I'm a composer for film, television, and video games. So when I'm working on something like God of War or Lord of the Rings, I'm telling stories with music. So I've been doing that for 20 years, and I realized I wanted to go the other way, Mike. I wanted to write the music first and then shape a story around the music, the
That's so
exact
cool.
opposite, right? So I wrote this record, and then I started feeling like there was a story in it. I had laid out all the songs. The record was basically done, and I started talking with some of my friends in the comic book world, and I was like, can we take this? I feel like I've made a concept album, even though it all came from the music first.
Right.
What if we shape a story and make a graphic novel? And that's where the graphic novel, The Singularity, was born. And it's going to be published by Image Comics, my favorite comic imprint, on
Same
May 8th.
here. That's awesome, man. I love it. That is super cool. You know, like you mentioned a little bit before, you said that this was it was different from some of your other work, obviously. For example, like your film scores, like let's say like Walking Dead or like God of War, like
Yeah.
you feel like it's a lot different from those kind of projects.
Well, sort of, right? It's sort of different. I mean, it's different in that I was writing music for myself and I had something I wanted to say. So in that way, it's entirely different. It's my own expression. However, when you listen to some of those scores, like to me, God of War is metal. The
Yeah,
way those
you're
low
right.
singers come in, bum, bum, bum. And that I did a song with Hosier for God of War Ragnarok. And when I was on stage with him playing Hurdy Gurdy, and like my hair's flying everywhere, and I'm like, this is kind of a metal song, man. It's so epic. Like I love big vocals and powerful chords and memorable melodies.
Oh
So in a
my
way, like
god.
it's like metal infiltrated those scores, and now I get to do that on stage. I mean, the Singularity is going to be live in Los Angeles May 12th at the Fonda Theater, with a bunch of my special guests. Like who would have thought years ago that I'd be on stage with Slash and Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult and Asdru Sierra from Ozo Motley, and like we're going to launch this thing with style, man. It's pretty exciting.
Holy cow, man, that's amazing. Like one of the things I wanted to point out was like some of your guest performers that you got. Like you just mentioned, your friends, on stage. So like Mega Ran, I gotta give a shout out to him. That's so cool. I'm
Yeah,
like,
man.
that's a great pick right there, man,
He's great.
like you said, Slash, man, that's unbelievable. And Corey Taylor, I'm a huge Slipknot fan, man.
Corey
I,
is one of those singers where I was thinking about the types of vocalists like on my dream list, right? And for me, the kind of vocalists I love are, especially in metal, are the ones that can scream super powerfully, but when they need to, they can kick on this beautiful tone.
right,
And I mean, Corey is almost like two singers in one, you know?
it's
So
true.
he was like the top of my list, man. I was so stoked to get him singing on the record. He was incredible.
That's incredible, man. I love it. And so here's a hard one. I didn't want to ask, but I feel like I have to. I want to hear your answer. Do you have a favorite track off the album?
Oh man, killing me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I know.
It
I'm
is
sorry.
really tough,
There's a
man.
lot of songs.
There's a lot, and they all have different meanings for me.
That's
Escape
cool.
from the Machines is the instrumental that I wrote when I was in high school, and I wrote it with my guitarist buddy who played the riff. So to hear Slash and Joe Satriani play it is like, oh my God, I've been waiting 30 years, man. I've been waiting 30 years. But is it my favorite track? I don't know. Um, Maybe it's the end of Tomorrow, which is an 11-minute behemoth toward the
It's
end of the
also
record.
Slash, right?
Features Slash, and it to me, it's that kind of song. Look, I grew up listening to Bohemian Rhapsody and November Rain. I love these songs that Tool does this all the time. They take song form and they just break it.
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to be 3.5 minutes? Why not?
It doesn't.
Why not make it more symphonic? And look, coming from film scores and video game scores, I love that kind of symphonic approach. So for me, End of Tomorrow, I'm not putting it on the same level as those songs, but those were the songs I was thinking about when I wrote it, and it turned out so great, man. It might be my pick.
That's awesome, man. I love it. So you mentioned the tour, right? So for this album, and I guess what can like where can we expect? Is it going to be, like where you know what I'm saying?
In other places, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Besides LA.
We are getting this show on its legs in Los Angeles, May 12th. And from there, I am very hopeful that we're going to be able to take it on the road.
Cool.
It's sort of like I wanted to launch it with a big show, get a bunch of my guests, get a bunch of get the animation going. I mean, obviously I'm a huge Death Clock fan. Like Death Clock is my band. And it was working with Brendan Small on Metalocalypse on the Doomstar Requiem is really what started me thinking like I should make my own record. So I love Death Clock shows because you have this animation behind you.
So fun.
And enjoy. So I'm gonna have an LED wall with custom animation on the whole show. I want you to feel like you're watching the graphic novel come to life behind the band. I want it to be a multimedia experience. So right now, this is the only show. I don't think it's going to be the only show for all time, but I would highly recommend you guys check it out. It's going to be an experience.
Oh my God, that's amazing, man. I absolutely love it. Super cool. So yeah, I think that's everything I got here, if I'm not mistaken, man. I'm really excited.
Killer, man. Well, I
Keep
appreciate
spreading the word.
Yeah, man, I appreciate hearing that you dig the record, and for me, it's eclectic and weird and
yeah, totally.
Epic, and there's something on there for everybody, man. I'm really excited about it.
Oh man, I totally agree. That's awesome. Well, listen, thanks again, and hopefully we'll chat again soon. All right.
Sounds great, Mike. Appreciate it.